Hello, in this video today we're going to talk about hay fever relief.
So welcome to ProfileTree TV, and today we're joined by Tracy from HealtherSelf and Gemma as well, a guest. So Paul, thank you very much for coming in. You would mind telling us a little bit about your business?
My business is called HealtherSelf and it's brand spanking new. It started in January, but the journey towards it has taken a number of years. I study NLP Hypnosis, and whilst using that in the corporate sector, for sales and management and leadership, I was also the rest of the time helping people who were struggling. Anxiety, depression, pain. A number of years back I sort of led myself into a pain journey. I wasn't sleeping, I'd lost the sleep habit and then started experiencing pain. So my journey around how health works started probably about 7 or 8 years ago, where I had to work out how to sleep again. I don't like taking tablets, so I had to work out how can I relieve pain without taking tablets, and that's where it started. So about 2 years ago I had a more significant health issue, and somebody very close to me had a fairly significant diagnosis. So I decided, okay, that's what my business will be. So the business itself is to suggest to people that what we can do here within ourselves in terms of our own health and our own well-being is really quite phenomenal. And I'll be doing workshops, one-to-one sessions around pain, sleep, immune system, how to hack the immune system, stuff like that.
Amazing. And I've known you for a few years now.
Yeah,
We're debating how many years.
Yeah.
And I've actually started, definitely in the last couple of years, starting to understand, appreciate the impact we can actually have on ourselves, and I've been blown away by it. But do you think people actually understand that, or?
I think sometimes, some people are sceptical straight off the wicket, and rightly so. I think that when it comes to health, it's vital. If you've got something going on, you go to the doctor and you find out what the doctor has to say. So that's a given. But there's a lot we can do for ourselves. And it's a question that, well, how do you do that? I'm a bit of a bore with all of this, so people come to the house, blokes doing jobs. Like Tracy came to the house one day and he was interested in motorbikes like me. But one day he came back and he was limping really bad. And I says, what happened? And he really banged his ankle up bad whenever he was racing it that weekend. The next thing I saw him up the ladder, screwing away at the lights. So I stopped and said, your ankle's not sore at the moment. What? No. So where did you put the pain? Well, I just don't think about it when I'm working. All right. You just don't think about it. And that's really all I'm after. So what can we do on the inside that takes us away from whatever is ailing us?
Incredible.
And sometimes that's just so simple. I've asked so many people, are you good with pain? Do you take painkillers? No. What do you do with the pain I asked somebody just recently, when you take a painkiller, what do you do? For instance, we just take a tablet. Right, okay, but there's so much more in terms of how we use our imagination and visualization pieces to aid that journey. So honestly, I'm on the internet, I've got books, I study, I've been on courses recently. Some of it's just, seriously, what?
Yeah.
What?
What can be done?
And then you have to go and try it out.
Yeah. Amazing.
So yeah, it's quite breathtaking.
And one of the things I'm thinking of, or working on myself at the moment, is, the classic, I'm sure a lot of people do this, is think about the future, or worry about the future.
Aye.
Future hasn't happened, so you're worrying about something that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
You're not worrying about the present.
Yep.
And the things you can control. So I'm trying to really, on the back of the journey you started me down, it's all your fault. But just really trying to focus on the present and now, as opposed to worrying about things that may never even happen, and wasting energy doing that.
It's a bit of a cliche for me, but and I say this as many people see in here, we're all like Steven Spielberg. In fact, we're better than Steven Spielberg. He can't do what we can do in here. We can scare the absolute life out of ourselves. We can delight ourselves. It's our choice. So, but how do you get control of that? And that's not commonly taught. But that's the trick. And also, Kieran, people, so whilst I'm going out to teach them, nobody invented it, they just found out how people do things. So there's people can very naturally just put things out of their mind. Can I share one story from a few years back? I was talking to a chap, it's a corporate client, and he explained that he had survived cancer. I said, right, okay, that must have been awful. And we went into that big story, and it was a big story. But at that time I was especially interested in sleep. How do you get to sleep? So I said to him, how do you get to sleep when you were going through all that? And his first answer, like everybody else, is, I have no idea. You just go to sleep. But there's a process involved. So he was struggling to answer the question, and he said, he just very casually went, I'll just put it at the back of my mind. I said, really? Like where? And put what to the back of my mind? And it's all the movies. So he thought he was finished, but I had another question for him, and it was like, so see when you put that to the back of your mind, what do you put at the front of your mind? Because that's where the peace comes from. You put something else to the front of your mind. So yeah, I meet people every single day, and I ask them these sorts of questions, and they tell me what they're doing.
Yeah, and for sure it's these questions that lead them to think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, be more aware of what they're doing. Because you're right, you're going to bed, you've got problems or things that you're concerned about, and you do.
Is that where you keep yours, just there to that side?
Yeah, that's it.
And you hold them like that?
You're going to do it through now, yeah. So brilliant. So that's exactly what I do. I actually have them here, and then totally I would exactly as that gent did. I would put them to the back of my head, and I would bring something. I would start thinking of other things, nice things, good things, and I would gently drift into sleep. No problem, like that. 2 seconds.
Yep. I'm preparing a workshop on sleep, how to help people get better sleep. And I read a thing recently. It was in the Guardian. It's pointless counting sheep.
Wow.
Unless you like sheep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when I was teaching myself to sleep again, I went back to Dundrod, 1968, 1969, Agostini, going through the Quarry Bends, and I used that as a place to go to lead me into a dream, to lead me into sleep.
Beautiful. Amazing. Excellent.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
Incredible. But we're here today to talk about hay fever.
Yeah.
So hay fever's obviously going into the season now, so hay fever you see as a problem that impacts a lot of people then?
It impacts people. It gets talked about on the weather forecast. It gets talked about in the news. I've never suffered it, so it's sort of beyond me. My journey into the technique is a wee bit strange. I read many books. I saw the technique years ago, but because it didn't affect me, because I was interested in other things, I didn't land there. But about two or 3 years ago, I saw a piece of film on the internet from a guy called Tim Halbom, and it's a demonstration of him helping a lady get over an allergic response. And I went, right, okay, I've read the technique, right, okay, so can I do that? So I set about learning it, and I'll be running workshops for people with hay fever to teach them this technique and all that goes with it.
Excellent. And that's where Gemma comes in and has been brave enough to come and tell us a little bit about what's happened then. So you had hay fever?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. And I, like Paul, didn't have hay fever, never had, thankfully. So what was it like when you had hay fever?
It would take over your whole day whenever it's bad, and it just feels like your whole head is clogged and your breathing, everything. It just, if you have something planned, you know it's going to be affected by bad hay fever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. But you have your own business as well?
Yes.
So what is your business, and obviously it impacts it?
Yeah, so I'm a professional dog walker. So I'm out in parks and fields every day, 3 times a day. And obviously that's literally putting yourself in the line of fire when you've bad hay fever. So it just made working so hard. So I remember like the worst day, I brought tissues out with me, and anyone who's had fever will know you can blow your nose as much as you want. There's going to be more, your eyes are stingy, they're watery, your throat's itchy, you can't scratch it, you're just infuriated sort of thing. So I remember one day it was really bad, and I literally was like, I don't care who I pass, and I just shoved tissues up my nose, just walked through the park with it, just for some relief. Incredible. It was that bad. Wow. But yeah.
Amazing. And obviously for your job then it's a major problem.
Yeah. Like winter was nearly, people look forward to summer being outdoors. Winter was my, I'd rather be out in the cold and the snow because at least I can breathe.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And would it happen every year then, yeah?
Every year, yeah.
And that's when Paul came in to...
Yeah.
So what was the process? What happened then?
Well, first time sort of Paul told me about what he does. as I'm sure you're used to getting maybe a skeptical face.
Just a bit, you know.
Yeah, sure, okay. I'll give it a go. Like anything will help. So even the amount of money I would spend on hay fever remedies, like I sent my other half out to the shop and was like, just bring back what you can find, and you know it'll give you a little bit of relief, but nothing was helping. So I'm literally outdoors, so it was just too much. It wasn't helping. So I was like, yeah, open mind for this, whatever might help. So yeah, the first session was in
Yeah, Ivanhoe.
it was like a group.
A small group.
Yeah.
I'd put together a small group just to, I'd watched the film, I'd read the notes, got clear in my mind how do I do this, and then asked some people to volunteer to give it a go.
Amazing. So what was the process then? What?
Technique is predominantly called a counterexample process. So the construct beneath it all is that the immune system is reacting to something that isn't actually, in this case, fatal. Right? The immune system has made a mistake, so it's about re-educating the immune system, and we use a technique called anchoring as part of that to go through a very short routine to get the immune system to not react in the way it has been reacting.
Wow, excellent.
It really is, like, it's unbelievably quick. Unbelievably quick.
So how many sessions then? Is it group work and then individual, or how does it normally work?
It should be just one session.
So
My plan is to run groups, and that's taking a coaching framework and working with one to working with many. And I just want to see if I can make that work, but I think I can. So, but the technique itself it really is very, very quick.
incredible.
Very quick.
Excellent. And for sure, I can imagine then you're out walking the dogs in your business now. It's a slightly different experience.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
incredible.
a lot easier.
Amazing. And no fears of hay fever then for the year coming?
No, well, no, I don't think so.
It's
A lot
amazing.
more positive about this sort of spring, summer coming, yeah. So
Incredible.
obviously it's an enjoyable job, and I just wasn't wanting to go outside and face it, you
Yeah,
know,
of
like
course.
2 years ago sort of thing. So yeah, a lot happier about that now.
I see.
Definitely very beneficial for me.
Amazing, amazing. And do you think this technique would work for other types of problems?
Yes. So when I made the decision, when those various health concerns came along for myself and others, I decided to go backwards and go back and get some health related training. So last year I was in Holland for 15 days in total, doing a health certification training, and the 3 trainers are the 3 people that come up with the technique. So they demonstrated it to a level of depth. So yeah, the trick is to first of all go slowly to do, to work out, okay, what's the story? There's one question that I hadn't thought to ask before, and I've asked it of quite a number of people now, but the question is, for people with hay fever, were you born with this? When did this start?
Wow.
And nobody has yet said, yes, I was born with this. So in the sense that this notion that mind and body are one system, so what happens here will happen in what happens in my mind will happen in my body somewhere, and what happens in my body will happen in my mind somewhere. The 2 systems are, like, just cannot separate them. So if I'm suffering a transition point, a time of change, or something going on in my life, well, of course my body's going to react. When I had all the pain thing, I had to go to the city hospital for all sorts of tests. But it was in the neurology department, getting into one of them big machines that makes all the noise. I met this lovely young doctor. He probably thought, oh God, why me? Why today? So he was testing me, and he was doing that thing with my knees before putting the machine. I said, doctor, you know that saying, sticks and stones can break my bones? He said, yeah, what about it? I said, how does that work? And he looked at me like, he says, we don't know, I don't know. He says, do you not study that? Well, we don't study that bit. But for me, it's a fascination. So if you say something sharp to me, if you, you know, whatever, you know, the way we meet in life, I might blush, my chest might tighten, I might stop breathing for a second, my heart might beat faster, but my body will react. And that reaction's always there. And it's, for me, it's about connecting the 2 things up, because people largely forget. Life rolls on.
Of course.
So I have a huge interest in the immune system because of diagnosis for someone. And for me, it's a sort of a starting point to suggest, okay, how do we help people with their symptoms when it's the immune system that's involved? And some of that, it's breathtaking.
Amazing.
Breathtaking.
People at home watching this, and they're, as we know, obviously just, I've suffered from this or other problems, but this specifically for years. Is there anything then that they might be able to do or think of that might give them a little taste that this might work for them?
I would propose just find your nearest NLP practitioner.
Amazing.
And ask them, have you learnt this technique and have you used this technique? I've read so much around it. When Gemma was talking about the tissues, some of the here's how to help with hay fever on the various websites, like put Vaseline over your nose, and there's lots of things, and they're very well intentioned, but they're not getting to the solution space. So it's about, if this argument makes sense, then find a practitioner and see if they can help you.
Amazing. And one thing you'd mentioned to me before was actually just even talking about hay fever. So maybe someone watching this might even have symptoms.
May start to see the symptom.
Because it's, again, we're having that conversation and it's triggering things in their mind.
It's how the system works.
Amazing. Amazing. So the key then is, as you say, is to sit down and talk to a professional and try and figure out what the trigger is and then work back from that.
It's not the trigger. The trigger is easy enough to find. What you have to find in the counterexample process, so if I'm allergic to dog hairs, for example, I might not be allergic to cat hair. So you find something that's similar, but to which you do not react. And that's what you anchor in, and that's what you re-educate the immune system with.
Incredible. Amazing. Very powerful.
Yeah.
I can see.
So with dust, okay, well, let's get some talcum powder. With cigarette smoke, some people are allergic to that. Okay, well, let's get a fire lit or something, you find something that's close by in the experience of the person, and that's how you build the technique.
Excellent. Obviously, we have a massive industry built around medication.
We do.
Everything like that. But I guess we're thinking that medication may not be needed in all cases.
I leave that to each person. I have a big interest in the placebo effect. And I'm working on, so a placebo effect is basically just a belief system, right? So can we build a belief system, a placebo belief system on purpose? I've watched a ton of video online about placebo. If I go back to the story of people who take painkillers, is it just because they're taking a painkiller, or is it what's in the tablet?
Yeah.
If people can find a remedy that works for them, then absolutely. Go to your trusted source and find out what they recommend. Give it a go. If that still doesn't work, keep looking.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things people take as a life sentence.
Very good, and suffer on.
So there might be something out there, and that requires just an attitude to go search.
Incredible, excellent. And we talked about the future's 360.
Virtual.
It is for sure. And then the future for your business. So what's the plans? What do you
Plan
think?
is to run workshops. I want to video some of those and put that content out online to help people. My plan is to help people with predominantly life-threatening or life-altering conditions. I have a range of workshops around sleep, around pain relief, around hay fever, around anxiety, just on the other side, which I will run. But ultimately it's the big ones. Where a couple of years ago, 2 good friends died of cancer. I've been helping people for just over 20 years now, but I wasn't able to help those 2 lads because of how I felt about cancer. So to set up HealtherSelf, I've gone back to my training, gone back to the books, gone back to everything, said, right, okay, no, now I'm taking this on. So NLP meets virtual reality meets cancer, NLP meets virtual reality meets MS. I'll be running things like that in the second half of the year.
Incredible. So yeah, very big topics to tackle.
Big topics, yeah.
Amazing. And people that need help without a doubt suffering from these.
And there's plenty of help there. I just want to be able to add my threepence into that.
Amazing. Excellent.
And there's a wonderful advert. There used to be a wonderful advert on the TV from Macmillan. It's a guy, going through cancer, but he's in a frozen wasteland. He's just in his hospital gown, and he's in this expansive, like it's wind howling, it's freezing cold. And then a nurse just brings him back to. He's in a hospital, and she's giving him comfort. And I just thought that's a very, very clever advert, because for me that's an exquisite statement about how we construct our reality in here. The idea of metaphor. When people say and report to you how they're feeling and how they're holding their symptom in their head, fantastic advert.
Incredible.
So there's lots of help out there.
Yes, excellent. No, very, very educational. And if anyone wants then to reach out and have a chat or talk to you, what's the best way for them to find you?
Phone or email.
Excellent.
My email is paul@paultracy.co.uk.
Excellent.
That might change when I fully launch the HealtherSelf, and my mobile is, we can put that up on screen perhaps.
Yeah, we'll do. And the website address you have at the moment?
Is www.healtherself.net.
Amazing. Excellent. Thank you, Paul. And Gemma, if anyone wanted to check out your dog walking service, I know they're on Facebook.
Yes.
So what should they search for?
Hiker Hounds.
Hiker Hounds. Excellent. And I had a little look at the Facebook page and I was blown away. So loads of pictures of amazing dogs, so enjoying themselves and having fun. But thank you very much for coming in and telling us all about hay fever today. Really appreciate that. Brilliant.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching today. Hopefully if you're suffering from hay fever, why not have a think and see if Paul's techniques would work for you. Reach out to Paul and say hello. I know he's a very approachable person and we'll be only too glad to help. And hopefully we'll see you in tomorrow's video. This is Kieran from ProfileTree. We're the content marketing agency here on the Springfield Road in Belfast. See you tomorrow.